Finally came down from all the Karen Reed stuff. It was a good feeling. It was a feeling I haven't felt in these many months. So some things have been going on in Discovery and Lively Baldoni this week, and I'm actually glad I didn't talk about them yesterday because the judge ended up ruling on them today. And so I'm just going to give you a summary of the things that are going on. There's several Discovery motions that the judge ruled on today. There's a motion or a document in the Jed Wallace side of things that tells us something we didn't know before. There's a bunch of information about Taylor Swift, and there's a deposition that's coming up. So I will tell you about them in that order. So the motion to compel was a lively motion. It was primarily about some interrogatories they had served on the Wayfair and different parties, asking for information about content creators, reporters, and giving people access to like drop boxes or email accounts as a way to give them information without a paper trail. Now, I don't know where they came up with that idea. I don't know if that's information they got from their expert about how people do this. I don't know if it's because it's something that they have seen done before. I don't know if it's because they have a tip. But they were asking them, like, what are email accounts that you set up but then you gave other people access to? And they were fighting about whether that was appropriate. Now, that interrogatory came from a bunch of the different Lively parties, and it went to a bunch of the different Wayfair parties. TAG, the agency group, Melissa Nathan and Jennifer Abel, responded and said, there aren't any. We've never done that. But there were outstanding interrogatories of the same kind to other people on the Wayfair side. And the court said those might be legitimate interrogatories, but the problem is that those interrogatories were sent by Ryan Reynolds, and he's not a party anymore. So those interrogatories are dead. You can revive them if he gets back into the case, or you can revive them from someone else, but they don't have to respond to interrogatories from somebody who's not in the case anymore. I dismissed him out of this case last week. There was another set of interrogatories about all the reporters and news agencies that Wayfair has communicated with, and it's a very long period of time. It's June 2024 all the way up until now. I had forgotten that the amended complaint from Lively has a defamation claim in it against Wayfair for things that have been said by Friedman and others since the lawsuit was filed. That seems kind of crazy to me, but because they have that, the judge is like, no, that's fair. You know, you don't have to tell them everyone that you've ever talked to, but everyone that you've reached out to, everyone that Wayfair or anyone on Wayfair's behalf has reached out to, you have to give them a list of who those people are. Now, the next step of that is to whether Lively reaches out to those people and tries to get information from them. We will see. They may claim their reporting privilege. They may claim something else. I don't know if they'll get the information, but the judge said, yeah, you can go ahead and give them the names. And then kind of the same thing with content creators. They were having a big fight over what is a content creator, right? Because the Wayfair argument was when we were promoting this movie, we gave like media kits and stuff to lots of different Are you talking about 200 followers people? Are you talking about 200,000 followers people who are there? And they were going back and forth. And the Lively people were like, no, we just want everyone that you like affirmatively asked to speak about this movie, Lively, Reynolds, whatever. And the court said, yeah, that's fine. You can go ahead and do that. So I suspect that in response to both of those interrogatories, the reporters and the content creators, they're going to get gigantic lists because it's going to include not only all of the creators and reporters they talked to when promoting the movie starting last August, but everyone they've talked to about this lawsuit. So that'll be fun to go through for some poor associate. But also on the case of the retaliation, the smear campaign, which I have said for a long time, I always found the most interesting part of this whole case. Was there one? Can they prove it? Can they prove that it caused the reputational damage? I've always thought that was the hardest issue for her. And I've also always thought that was the thing that caused her to file the suit in the first place. That was what was most important to her. In fighting with Jed Wallace about whether he was going to get a stay of discovery, which ultimately he did not, while that motion to dismiss for personal jurisdiction is pending, the Lively parties filed some documents like, this is why we need to talk to him. This is why we need to do discovery. And one of the things they filed is a document that is some emails between Wallace and Wayfair. So you can see here that This is the start of the email thread, and I'm going to read it, show it to you backwards. It's people hooking Jamie Heath up with Jed, talking about social media activity. And if you look over there in the bottom right, sorry, I didn't clip this well enough. It says SR1.00. That means that's a Bates stamp. That means that this was produced by Street Relations. So this came directly from Jed Wallace's company. So this is not something where Jed Wallace is going to say that email chain was doctored. I never said that. This is something that he produced, just FYI. So you can see here that they're going through here and they're connecting each other, and you can see, oh, what a pleasure. And while the circumstances are yada, yada, yada. Now, this time frame is important because it's August the 8th going into August the 9th. The premiere of the movie was on August 6th, and it was released on August 9th. So this is right in between the premiere and the theatrical release to theaters. So here's the next line. Jamie's going back to Jed. It's so nice to meet you. Here's the invoice, blah, blah, blah. We're going to connect with all these people. And he's saying the premiere and screening we had today is crazy. Yeah, this is literally August 9th, which is the day that the whole thing gets released. Oh, I forgot to go back here. It says this is $30,000. They paid Jed Wallace $30,000. So I totally agree that like $30,000 should just look at social media and be like, you're good. I don't know about that. But also, then you come up here. Sorry, I cut it off again. But it says, Wayfarer family just wrapped up a long flight. We will work in lockstep, blah, blah, blah. It looks like we got work to do, right? So this exchange very much makes it look like Jed Wallace was hired to do something, and he was hired to do something more than just look at social media and see what everybody was looking like. This looks like, you can see up here, he uses the word, just wrapped a long flight, but my team is or has been in full throttle mode. So this is happening the day the movie's released. Now, on the Taylor Swift of it all, remember Lively had filed a motion for protective orders, so she didn't have to turn over her communications with Swift because she said, I think that maybe Brian Friedman got them, and why won't they tell us what they got? And we had that whole controversy earlier this week or last week. I can't even remember. But there has been this online conversation since the very beginning about, does Swift even belong here? What does she know? Was she just a friend? Lively said in interviews she was with me the whole time, but Swift has kind of tried to stay out of it. Well, now we know that that question has been answered once and for all, and it has been answered by Blake Lively. So in federal court, you have to file things called initial disclosures, and you have to name sort of the basics of what you have, including, you see number 1 here, the name and address of each individual likely to have discoverable information along with the subjects of that information. You do it, and then sometimes you amend it as the case goes on. But what we found out in this document that was filed as an exhibit by some of the Wayfarer lawyers saying, here's the stuff you have yet to give us. Look at number 4. Lively's amended initial disclosures names Taylor Swift as a person with knowledge of the conduct, knowledge of complaints or discussions about the work environment or conduct, the production, the editing, the cut, and the creative process, and the campaign. Lively is the one who has said in her formal disclosure, this is a person with knowledge about the case. That automatically makes her part of discovery, period. So it's not up for debate as to whether she has knowledge. One of the parties has said that she does. Now, the other interesting thing about this document is if you look at the top right under where it says external email, it looks like Blake Lively is going to be deposed on June the 23rd. Now, if she hasn't turned over these documents, they may try to push it back and say, we don't have everything we need to ask you about. But she is supposed to be deposed next week. So we'll see if we get any news leaks or information about that. And then last, there was something that's kind of boring procedural, but actually is interesting. There had been some motions filed about trying to serve a subpoena on a third party, and they couldn't find the person, and they wanted to do alternative service by like serving this person on LinkedIn and doing the thing where you stick it to their door. If you can't like actually serve someone with a process server, there's other means you can go through. And the judge said, yeah, you can go ahead and try to do that. The person is a former VP of Jones Works. Doesn't work there anymore, doesn't want to be served. Now I'm dying to know what that guy knows. I hope they find him. Anyway, that's generally what's going on. Let me know if you have questions about any of that.